Hi, Eckhart.
No.
Part of my questions were already answered from the previous questions, but my question is, in the New Earth, you give an example of Hakuin, the Zen master, and he's falsely accused of there's false accusations towards him, and he responds with, "Is that so?" I was wondering if you could give us me some other examples of how a conscious person might answer or respond to that situation, and how the ego might respond to the same situation.
Okay. Well, the ego one is quite easy to imagine, isn't it? The story, of course, is a story that's been around for some time about the Zen master. Just to very briefly to remind everybody, the Zen master who has a reputation, high reputation, in where he lives, in the town or city, and then suddenly he is accused by the daughter of a neighbor who is 16 or 17 or something like that, who has become pregnant, that he is the father of the baby, the unborn baby. And so the daughter of his neighbor tells that to her parents, and they get very angry and of course tell it to everybody, and they run to the Zen master and says, "Our daughter has just told us that you had sex with her and she's carrying your baby." The dreadful. And he listens and he says, "Is that so?" "Yes, you are the father. She told us." "Is that so?" And so immediately, of course, he loses his reputation. Nobody comes to him anymore, and it doesn't bother him. He's completely self-contained, present. He is presence. The baby is born. The parents come to him with the baby and said, "Here, you look after the baby. We don't want it. It's your baby." "Is that so?" They give him the baby. He looks after the baby, feeds it. A year later, nobody comes to see him anymore because he's lost his reputation. A year later, the daughter becomes a little bit more mature and confesses to her parents that the Zen master is not the father, but the boy who works in the butcher's shop next door. And the parents come to the Zen master, "You are so sorry, we falsely accused you. She just told us that you're not the father." "Is that so?" And he hands the baby back to them. And the baby had a very good start in life, of course. And so that the story is to show the absolute non-reactivity, in very extreme form of non-reactivity, not impossible, and the power that is in that, the power for good, because that situation, which potentially would be a dreadful disaster and drama for anybody else with even the slightest ego left, would be a dreadful blow, a disaster that gets transformed into something good through non-reaction, because all the good that comes out of it, the baby's had 1 year with the Zen master, the first year of his life, and he's then going back. And then people come back to him. Okay, so you can see how non-reactivity transforms a potentially dramatic disaster into good. Your question is twofold. You asked, how would the ego have reacted? No, I don't need to say too much about that. You can imagine how an ego would say, "How dare you accuse me? The daughter is evil. She's an evil bitch. She accused me of being the..." And the parents are just as bad. And then you talk to everybody about it. You call them on the phone. "You know what they're doing to me? They're trying to and all kinds of things, talk to everybody about it, blow it up more and more, give interviews. And of course, you're the victim. You become the victim. That's the main thing. So your victim identity becomes stronger and stronger, and you're angry. And anger, of course, is designed unconsciously, as the Course in Miracles points out. Anger is designed to make somebody feel guilty. That's the energy behind anger. So you want to make everybody, but of course it doesn't really work. And so you have a huge drama. So you can elaborate on that. You could write a play about that. You could have a movie about that. The Zen, what happened to the Zen master, with an interesting title, Zen Baby, or whatever. Now, you couldn't have a movie about this, what actually happened in this story, because nobody would watch it. There's no drama in it. Nothing happens. He just sits there. So I don't think you could, even if you wrote a script, I think the producers in Hollywood would not finance it. It could be very nice, a short film, it wouldn't be a long film. Now, of course, if you are present, that is not the only way. It's not the way he dealt with that situation is not the only possible way. There are many other possible ways of dealing with the situation and still be present. For example, he could have said, well, is that so? But I would like to have a DNA test, though. So it's a practical step. You can still take practical steps. You're not condemned to complete inactivity just because you're present. In fact, if action is possible, you do it. You could even state clearly, that's not the case, I'm not the baby, but you're not a victim. You could simply state the truth. This is how it is. And the important thing is the unconsciousness of making yourself into a victim does not happen anymore. And you are not imposing projections onto others, deep judgments. The little 17-year-old daughter who is not mature enough to tell the truth, you don't need to say that she's evil and manipulative or whatever the ego would come up with. No, you just state it's not the case, it's fine. Whatever else comes out of presence, but there's always non-aggression, non-projection, non-judgment, because you see clearly that she did it because of her lack of consciousness. So what judgment could you have? There's lack of consciousness. That lack of consciousness is not a judgment. But if you make that into something evil in the other person, that's the judgment. So all kinds of ways of dealing with it and still remain present. The story gives us the most extreme way, because then we can really learn. It shows us what is possible. So what a wonderful story. And the two, one could have even tell two stories. Tell one story of, this is an idea for somebody who is a fiction writer here among you. You could have one story that tells a story from somebody who is dealing with something consciously, and then you have the same story where it develops into huge unconsciousness and drama. It'd be quite interesting. So next time then, if something happens to us, See, bearing in mind, don't become a victim. Don't become a victim. Don't make others into perpetrators and call them bad or evil. The two go together. So, it's wonderful, these challenges, aren't they? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.